All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Andy Reid retirement speculation. Now, he was asked about it, and what he did say was he quoted he was quoted by saying, "My mom and dad told me this when they were working. They said you'll know when it's time." And I was trying to find the full quote, but you'll know when it's time. Today's not the day. So any speculation, rumors, things like that, he kind of squashed that. Um, and because there was those rumors out there that hey, maybe if he retires, Bill Belichick could slide in and just take over Andy Reid's spot with the Chiefs, which I thought would have been wild if that happened. But again, it's a hypothetical. It's it wouldn't it's not gonna happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, listen, you got him, you got Travis Kelsey, them asking about retirement. I mean, listen, I think right now where the Chiefs are at, you know, you don't want to jump off the train now. I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, for both Kelsey and Andy Reid, I think the success that they've been able to sustain ever since Mahomes became a starter, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can complain about it all you want, but you can't deny that what they've been able to do is incredible. And you thought once the Patriots and their run was over that yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't. It probably won't happen again, but the Chiefs, they're on their way to repeating what the Patriots have done. I mean, they still got a long way to go, but you know they win a Super Bowl here, they're a dynasty. They are 100%. I mean, they could already be one right now. Again, we've talked about the dynasty talk a lot, but what they've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time has been unbelievable. And I think Andy Reid's, as long as this team is still together, and you still have that quarterback, you want to continue to build up that resume too. Because obviously he's up there with some of the all-time greats when it comes to head coaches. Um, you know, and yeah, I mean he turned 66 in March, and again, like you got Mahomes and Kelsey, and you have that defense now. I mean, look at the defense. What they've been able to become as a unit, because that was their weakness. And they were still winning Super Bowls with that defense. Um, so the thing with Andy Reid now is a win in the Super Bowl would mark Reid's third championship, obviously, and elevate him to an elite group of coaches with multiple Super Bowl titles, including Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll. I mean, he already has multiple Super Bowls, but yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, Joe Gibbs. I wanted to find where he stacks up in terms of wins, um, because he's getting up there, and obviously you want to maybe break that record. Um, but so he's one of 13 head coaches with two or more Super Bowl wins, and would be one of five with at least three if the Chiefs beat the 49ers. Let's see if so. This is on ESPN. Let's see if this has it. I'm skimming through it. All right. Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if anybody knows where he kind of stacks up in terms of wins among some of the greatest head coaches, leave it in the comments. I mean, I'll go back and look for it, but yeah, I mean, listen, he's won a lot of games. I mean, especially ever since he took over as the head coach of the Chiefs, and then you get Mahomes. I mean, they have won a ton of games together. They've won a lot of playoff games. I mean, they've only lost to Tom Brady and Joe Burrow in the Mahomes era, which is incredible. They don't really lose in the playoffs. And if they do, it's in the championship game or it's in the Super Bowl. So if they lose again, it's going to be in the Super Bowl. It's hard to keep them out. So you really, it's pretty much automatic that you got to pencil them in to at least be in the championship game. But again, and what does that remind you of? The Patriots. Um, and I know people can complain and say, oh, well, they'll never catch Brady. But I mean, still, what they've been able to do is unbelievable. But now they're the team that nobody wants to see. It's like, all right, can we get somebody else? But you know what? That's on the fault of all these teams that just no matter what they do, the Chiefs kind of downgraded on offense. Juju Smith-Schuster had a good season last year, and he left. Kadarius Toney. I mean, what was going on with him during the season? I mean, again, responsible for a couple of losses in there. I mean, Rashee Rice in the second half really started becoming a contributor for this team. He's really developed into a nice player for them. I mean, he really is their number one wide receiver. So he's kind of, replaced Juju Smith-Schuster. It's crazy how he went from Tyreek Hill to Juju Smith-Schuster and now to Rashee Rice. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Chiefs, they won a Super Bowl after Tyreek Hill got traded. And people didn't expect that. That's why I was just confused where there were topics on some of the sports shows like, talking about the Chiefs missing Tyreek Hill. But they literally just won the Super Bowl without him. So why is this even a topic? It didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, it's back to the original thing though. When it comes to Andy Reid retiring, yeah, I mean, we'll see how long he wants to coach for. I mean, I look at Belichick. I mean, Belichick's older. Andy Reid's gonna want to. Andy Reid, I think, just wants to continue to build the resume, and I think as long as they have this team, listen, they're the team to beat. And they have been for quite a while. Now, again, there's been teams that have beaten them. It's really only, two quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. But, you look at these other teams that just have not been able to, get through. And you got the Bills, you got the Ravens now losing to them in the playoffs. The Dolphins, we looked at them earlier in the season and we're like, wow, this team offensively is amazing. I mean, they're going to be tough to stop. And, the Chiefs beat them twice. I mean, again, like, they really didn't have a shot in this playoff game. It was a tall task, and they dealt with a lot of injuries. And if this was the year to beat the Chiefs, this had to be the year. Because, I mean, the struggles they were dealing with on offense, it's just, I mean, you look at some of the games that they lost this year. I mean, you go back to, probably the worst, the Raiders loss is definitely up there on Christmas. That loss, I was like, yeah, this team is just not, this team is not going to go anywhere this year. Well, I mean, they're going to go make the playoffs, but I didn't, but once they got in, I mean, obviously it was tough for me to say, I mean, am I going to really say the Chiefs are not going to, I mean, I at least said the Chiefs were not going to win the Super Bowl. They could do whatever they want in the playoffs, but I was like, I don't think they're making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, I had them losing to the Ravens, and they went in there and they won. They beat Buffalo on the road. Talk about not being phased. They're not phased. They go into these hostile environments and they get the job done. And again, like, it's you also want to, if you're Andy Reid, you also don't want to end up like Bill Belichick, where like the wheels just fall off and you end up having a 4-13 season, which I don't think is going to happen with the Chiefs as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback. Now, Mahomes ends up getting hurt, knock on wood, during one of these years that he continues to coach. That's a different story because without Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are a very different team. I mean, they were able to tread water when he got hurt in 2019. That was the year they won the Super Bowl when he got hurt against the Broncos, and then they had to put Matt Moore in. They, won. I remember they beat the Vikings, so they were able to tread water until Mahomes came back. Thankfully for them, knock on wood, Mahomes has, been relatively healthy, and he's played in pretty much every game ever since he's become the starter. I mean, the only times he really, other than the year he was injured, it's when the Chiefs have their playoff spot locked up and they, sit all the starters, like this year in the last game of the regular season. But But other than that, he's been healthy. I mean, obviously he did get hurt in the playoffs last year, but he was able to gut it out and you know come back into the playoff game against Jacksonville, and then of course playing in the championship game, playing in the Super Bowl. You know, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like Andy Reid did say though. He said when it's time, he'll know when it's time, and I think right now that's not the case. So um, I think he's going to try to coach as long as he can. As long as the Chiefs keep having success, I think he's going to stick around. Um, I think he wants to win, some more championships, and then he'll hang it up, and that includes this one right here, um, which again they win this. I mean, this only adds to his resume, Mahomes' resume, Travis Kelsey. I mean, it's again what they've been able to accomplish. Uh, you know, what else is there to be said? Again, people might not be happy about it, looking at them as the new villain. But I mean, for me, it's whatever. As long as it's not a team that I dislike, I'm fine with it. But with the Chiefs, it's like it has a lot more to do with stuff that's happening outside of football as opposed to what's happening on the field. Now, everybody complains about the flags. That's the number one thing is complaining about the flags and getting calls in your favor. That's what people don't like the Chiefs about is that. Again, you go back to the Bills game when they lost. That's a prime example of that. Um, but outside of that, I mean, yeah, when it doesn't pertain to football, it's the outside stuff that's going on, and I mean, you kind of feel for Mahomes a little bit with some of the stuff that's happened, um, but because they did ask him regarding what's going on with his father, and he handled it the right way. It's a family thing. It's it's not our business. It's not the media's business to know. It's something that let them handle it privately, and you go from there. So, um, but yeah, it's just a lot of outside noise. I think as to why and obviously people are tired of seeing Taylor Swift on their TV, but I mean, does it really affect the game experience that much? I don't know. But yeah, so that's so let me know what you guys think about Andy Reid's comments. We again went off on a tangent here, but I mean Andy Reid, talking about retirement and there's speculation. I mean that's a big deal for you know the organization and even Patrick Mahomes. I mean that's been his head coach ever since he came into the league. So when that time, because that time's going to come eventually, where Mahomes is going to have a different head coach, and how is that going to, how is he going to adapt? I mean, I think he'll be fine, but at some point that will happen. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Andy Reid's comments regarding retirement. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will discuss the Travis Kelsey, Rob Gronkowski debate. But before that, I just want to remind you guys again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we'll talk about the Kelsey Gronkowski debate. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.